Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Good morning to you. Great to have you with us for another Morning Barbados presentation. I'm Tisha Hines. I'll be here with you until 8 o'clock this morning. Certainly hope you had a great day yesterday and your morning is off to a fine start. Today we're going to be taking a look at some football. We're talking CONCACAF. You definitely want to stick around for that. Plus, Dr. Gillian Birchwood will be in as we look at pediatric care. Today we're going to take it in a little different direction. We're going to talk about violence in schools with the pediatrician. What does that mean for children and how can it change the way they engage and interact? What you need to look for at home once they're home. So we'll be talking to her about that. Plus we have some psychiatrists and psychologists. They'll be here with us to talk about Mental Health Week that is coming up and all of the activities that we can look forward to as well. But we wanted to get started this morning, as we often do. You'd remember that last Tuesday we were out and about. We were at the Lloyd Erskine Sandiford Center. So pleasure to be back in studio today with Ambassador David Commichong, Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM. Good morning and welcome back.
Nice to be back home.
Absolutely welcome home. So this past week has been interesting for more reasons than one. But I think all eyes have been on the UN and all that has been happening with the leaders of the world gathering in New York City to share all of the challenges and triumphs of their respective nations.
And the high point of that entire high-level UN General Assembly, in my opinion, was the speech of Prime Minister Mia Amor Motley. In fact, I think she delivered the best and the most important speech in her life. It was really a tremendous speech, and it was a tremendous speech because she sent such a strong and positive message about the need for the world, for the UN, other international institutions to reset. And the reset, that was the theme of her speech. And the reset that she called for was that we need to create an ethos, a culture in which we see each other, we feel each other, we understand that our humanity is invested in each other. And we need to create a world in which we work together on things that are critical to our common humanity, our well-being as human beings, how we create and prioritize human development, how we get away from warfare, and she had the audacity to say to the world, you need to turn to the African philosophy of Ubuntu.
Yeah.
That I am me because of you.
Yes.
And because of we, and because of our connection with each other and with Mother Nature. And I think it's a message that it's a message that the world desperately needs right now, and it's a message that's going to resonate for many, many years to come.
I think it will resonate too because it touched on many areas and we want to share some of that this morning. I think top of the table we're going to start with what she said about reparations. Yeah, so let's listen in to Prime Minister Motley addressing the UN General Assembly.
My friends, we are reminded that 2024 is the final year of the United Nations Decade for the People of African Descent. Much has been achieved, but the recognition, the justice, and the development for people of African descent that was promised by this decade has, to say the least, not yet been fully realized. And it is for this reason that the Caribbean community joins the growing chorus and my own country in particular, for the immediate proclamation of a second decade, to complete the unfinished work and address the matter of reparations for slavery and colonialism. I start here because this is a necessary but complex conversation, and the Caribbean community is resolute that it must happen. Its resolution lies, and I want to be very clear, its resolution lies in a multi-generational approach, in the same way that the £20 million sterling debt that was incurred by the British government only was repaid in this 21st century, almost 200 years later, so that the notion of unaffordability becomes a non-issue once we recognize that the solution to reparations must be multi-generational and grounded in development.
And that's, again, addressing reparations in a very poignant and really to the point manner.
Yeah, but this is the beauty of Prime Minister Motley. Not only does she present, the moral high ground, but she also pins down that lofty moral view in very concrete, practical ways of doing things, so that it is in fact achievable. It's not just lofty words. So she's making the point that yes, what is owed to the African people might be a tremendous amount, but we must not be daunted by that, because it can be achieved if we understand that reparations can be implemented across multiple generations. That's a very powerful idea, and that has in fact taken the reparations campaign a step further. She also mentioned about the need for a second UN decade for people of African descent, and that's something that CARICOM is very much invested in, because the chair of the UN Permanent Forum for People of African Descent is one of our own, Dr. June Suma from St. Lucia. So she used the opportunity to really put the CARICOM reparations campaign and idea firmly before the world community.
And the underpinning of the conversation, her entire presentation, as you mentioned when you opened, was that need to reset.
Reset, yes.
Inclusive of reconnecting with who we are and the earth generally. And that's what we're going to share with you now.
Mr. President, of necessity, the reset must also be characterized by institutional reform, which has to start in the United Nations councils. These councils suggest that some are full members, and others are only part members, and some may be part-time members, and some may be occasional members. All of this has no place in the 21st century. And the anger and the mistrust of our citizens and institutions, in leaders, in multilateralism, and in the processes which exclude while yielding much talk and little action is very real. And nowhere is reform and consequently trust and hope more important to the well-being of billions of people today than in relation to the global financial architecture. Restricted access to capital, its disproportionately high costs barring us from doing that which we must, its inadequate scale, and the overwhelming burden of debt often imposed on us by circumstances beyond our control. These are all now combining to force governments in the world's poorest countries, and frankly, across many vulnerable middle-income countries, to devote more resources to debt service than to health and education, and in some instances, even infrastructure. For far too many members of the human family, cold ground is our bed, and rock is our pillow. Too many go to bed with their bellies hungry, and too many may not even have a bed. Our reset must therefore collectively build a common agenda that reflects and reinforces our shared humanity. It is that shared humanity that binds us together. Mr. President, you know better than most. Our African brothers and sisters got it right with the principle of Ubuntu. And I've used this principle, this General Assembly, to remind us that its simplicity is what we should aspire to. I am because you are. I am because we are. My well-being is tied to yours, and our collective well-being is connected to Mother Earth's.
Basic human needs, the need for food, the need for education, health care, shelter. She's saying that we must reorient all of these institutions so that their first priority becomes how do we respond to the human needs of the masses of the people all over this planet for those basic things. Because right now, that is not how the system works. That is like a secondary thing. But she's saying we now have to make that central and fundamental to all of our institutions, from the UN back down. And especially she's making the point to the international financial institutions that need to provide the resources to make sure that people don't go to bed hungry and that people have health care and so forth.
With that said, that's a great segue into the next clip we're going to share, where she spoke substantially about the Bridgetown Initiative.
Yes.
That is why, my friends, we launched yesterday the third iteration of the Bridgetown Initiative, which identifies three key principles, very simply. One, we must change the rules of the international financial system and reform its governance and instruments. Two, we must shock-proof vulnerable economies by dealing with debt and liquidity in a comprehensive, development-focused manner. And if we need to give countries a shot of liquidity like we give them a shot of adrenaline to avoid them falling off the cliff of debt, then we must do so. And thirdly, we must augment financing by boosting country capacity to invest in resilience by several means, including what has been announced already, the rechanneling of special drawing rights through our multilateral development partners, but that will only be truly effective if there is another issuance of SDRs in the near future. Indeed, we must also address the challenge, and this I believe to be the fundamental mission of this generation, of how we are going to secure the global public commons to be able to maintain our safety and stability as a global community. We're going to have to discuss how we can secure it and, of course, how we must finance it. And that is not only the climate crisis or the loss of biodiversity that we speak about, but the other many global challenges that can truly destabilize countries and regions.
Definitely strong, talking about moving into another phase of the Bridgetown Initiative.
Yes, she released the third edition of the Bridgetown Initiative last week. And again, if you go and read, and I would encourage all of Barbadian and Caribbean people to research the third edition of the Bridgetown Initiative, but when you read it, you will see the fundamental strength of Prime Minister Motley. So she's presenting this lofty vision of a new humanity, but then she's pinning it down in precise policy reforms, precise, new mechanisms to achieve it. So it's not just rhetoric. And the Bridgetown Initiative, the new edition, it says, number one, we have to change the rules of the game. We have to restructure these institutions to make their primary responsibility be to respond to the human needs of our people. We need to give small countries, developing countries, more say in the governance. And as she said, we need to shock-proof our economies. We need to put in place the debt pause clauses, for example. We need to put in place the 30 to 50-year loans that developing countries can invest in development so that they become more resilient.
So as you mentioned, laying it all out, as in a plan to be able to make it
concrete,
happen.
Not so it's the lofty philosophy, but then it is pinned down in very concrete ideas and
terms.
practical ideas.
All right. She also addressed the group of nations, and we're going to take a look at that part of the speech now.
Let me use this opportunity as well to inform you that 2 days ago we took over the presidency of the Climate Vulnerable Forum, the V20 countries of the world, from Ghana, whose president I would like to thank for the excellent stewardship of the group over the past 2 years, and indeed for the strengthening of its institutional capacity. The priorities of our term as chair of the V20 countries will be the multiple dimensions of climate crisis, dealing with them, the impact of the climate crisis on human health, and of course, the issue of debt and climate, because if we don't solve that, we cannot take the appropriate actions to deal with climate. I invite all United Nations members who are not yet members of the V20 but who are climate vulnerable to join this group, because it is only through amplification of our voices and consistency of our message and solidarity that we will continue to see the pace and scale of reforms that we need to be able to save our people's lives. I commend to you the declaration of the leaders of the Climate Vulnerable Forum that was adopted this week on Wednesday.
Speaking of the Climate Vulnerable Forum, and I think another major part of her presentation was, of course, speaking about what's happening in Gaza. I don't think it's by any chance that she spoke directly after Israeli President Netanyahu.
Yes, I suspect, I don't know for certain, but whoever designed the order of speakers probably knew that they would need a speaker coming right after Netanyahu, capable of expressing the moral conscience of the world. And that is what was needed, and that is exactly what she did.
And this part of her speech received most applause. Let's take it in.
We need peace. And it cannot be too difficult for us to work for peace. It is the same Bible that tells us in the stories of the Old Testament, much which has guided many people across this world. But when we turn from the Old Testament to the New Testament, it is Romans that says to us, "Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord," not any country, not any human being. So that the Bible can't be used as a convenient aid when it suits us and rejected when it doesn't. In the midst of this maelstrom, we were very clear. My country took the step this year of recognizing and establishing diplomatic relations with the state of Palestine, in spite of having supported a two-state solution since 1969. And we did this because it is clear to us that the state and people of Palestine, human beings, are entitled to full recognition by integration into and support from the international community. The Charter does not say we the people, with the exception of any one group from any one part of the world. We join with others, therefore, in congratulating the state of Palestine in taking their seat among the United Nations member states, as they did on the 10th of September of this year. And let me be clear, we condemn the actions of Hamas on October 7th. But we equally and strongly deplore the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza, which is the result of the disproportionate use of force by Israel. There's no justification for it. And that is why treaties exist governing the rules of engagement for war. Because we as human beings learnt better and know better and committed to better. A two-state solution, no matter how elusive it may appear to be now, is the only answer. And I've said already this week that we have known difficult battles in mankind's history. But when we were in it, we didn't think we could achieve it, but we did. We abolished slavery. We removed apartheid in South Africa. These battles are not beyond our creativity, our capacity, and our resilience to resolve them.
Again, addressing Gaza just after the Israeli leader.
Yes, a powerful affirmation of the humanity of the Palestinian people.
And the capacity of human beings generally. I think humanizing what is happening was very important to kind of balance out what went before.
Yes, and using the concrete example of Barbados, that Barbados has recognized the state of Palestine. And she made a very, very important point that it is not beyond the capacity of the world to solve wars and conflicts. That once we are serious about dealing with the root causes of wars, if we make the effort, we can solve them. And that kind of cultural optimism is what the world definitely needs now, because we are caught up in so many conflicts, so many wars. That are causing so much grief and loss of human life. So for Prime Minister Motley to affirm the humanity and the value of the people of Gaza, of those children and women and men who are being slaughtered, that was extremely important. And then for her to go further and to say that we must resolve to bring wars to an end. And we can do it the same way we brought slavery to an end, the same way we brought apartheid to an end. If we make the effort to deal with root causes, we can do it.
And of course, she brought it all home to the Caribbean in addressing the challenges being experienced in Haiti and Cuba.
The Caribbean community has been working hard this year to support our largest member state. And in the early part of the first few months of this year, we met on Haiti almost 3 to 4 times a week to guarantee the stability that we ask you now to help us secure. We thank the efforts of the Eminent Persons Group of former CARICOM Prime Ministers who were on the front line of helping to resolve this complex problem day in and day out, so that we could find a political consensus for Haiti. That Haiti had at this General Assembly both the interim president of the Transitional Council and Prime Minister Cornille is a remarkable achievement given where Haiti was in February of this year. Let them continue on a path, please, of securing their future. And we cannot be on this podium speaking about Haiti without thanking Kenya and President Ruto for their remarkable leadership. After many delays and in what represents now a historical precedent for an African country, they have ensured that an African country has taken the lead in helping to tackle the peace and security challenge beyond its own continent. That is the kind of reset that we need in the international community. And Mr. President, you cannot come on this platform regrettably, although I look forward to the day when I will not have to say it, when we must ask for reprieve for the people of Cuba. It is unacceptable, it is unconscionable, and that it continues today is a mark on our international conscience. The Cuban people continue to face the most dire of economic circumstances, and that this is directly as a result of its exclusion and its designation as a state sponsor of terrorism. And I have addressed our only knowledge of terrorism, and Cuba is in fact the downing of the Cubana plane off the waters of Barbados, where Cubans, Guyanese, and Koreans were killed. My friends, Cuba has been a valuable partner, stepping up for us when it has mattered most, by the provision of nurses and doctors in pandemics, and by the provision of other essential workers when the global community needed it, and when people needed to be liberated in southern Africa. The reality is that we must have and continue to have resolve in calling for the embargo to be lifted, and we will condemn it year after year after year because it is simply wrong.
And that is, of course, timely as well, considering that just in another few days we'll be observing the downing of that Cubana plane on October 6th here in Barbados.
This coming Sunday.
Yes.
And it is also timely because just yesterday there was a vote in the UN General Assembly on the annual resolution denouncing the US blockade of Cuba and calling for it to be terminated. And the result of the vote was 187 nations supported the resolution calling for the termination of the embargo. 2 voted against it, the United States and Israel, and 1 country abstained, Ukraine. So the world has been telling the United States for over 30 years now that this embargo is not only morally wrong, but it is a breach of international law, and it must be removed. And the United States continues to say, we don't care. Might is right. We will impose it.
All right. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for coming in, as always, spending much time on the Prime Minister's presentation at the UN in the past few days. I think the remarkable achievement, apart from what she talked about, was how wide-ranging her address was, because she closed out by talking about our shipping industry, our shipping fleet, rather, our fishing fleet, the ships, Beryl, and how Beryl impacted us. So definitely covered a lot with the speech.
One thing I want to emphasize, especially for the Barbadian audience, is that Barbados is now the president of the V20, which is not really 20, it's really 68 countries. And we will be president now for the next 2 years. And that really complements the Bridgetown Initiative, because the agenda of the V20 is really virtually the same as the agenda of the Bridgetown Initiative. So just to emphasize that we are really trying to play our part, a very strong role in international affairs.
All right, thank you, Ambassador to CARICOM, Ambassador Comishong, in for conversations on CARICOM. Today we went a bit beyond that, but of course you can see the entire speech once you get online, should it be difficult to find it. It's time for a break here on Morning Barbados, but there's much more coming up, so stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We enjoy a game of dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love crew.
When you love me just a little bit longer.
You get to relax and have a drink and listen to some nice music.
It's something different. It's spectacular. It's fabulous. You know, it's a different feeling altogether.
I never feel so good in a party yet.
Follow me to Q in the Community this Thursday.
So good in a party yet. You know why?
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb. And together we will travel the world.
From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are 94.7 FM. the ultimate Bajan experience.
My friend, you don't plan to get it.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's already 18 minutes before 7 o'clock. Time just goes by so quickly. I know that happens, especially when you're getting ready to head out and so on. So we have a campaign that we wanted to share with you this morning and make sure that you get on board. And we have here with us to tell us more about it, Dr. Carol Ford St. Hill, who's consultant psychiatrist and program lead for mental health in the workplace awareness campaign that we're going to be talking about. So welcome. Good morning. Good to have you here.
It's
Absolutely.
good to be here.
Wonderful to have you up early and sharing with us. And no stranger to Morning Barbados, Ryan Lewis is a nursing officer at the psychiatric hospital, and he is, of course, back for the cause as well.
Good morning, Tisha, and thanks
Good
for having
morning.
us.
Good to have you here.
Yes.
How's the beautiful little one?
She's doing great, actually. She
Yeah.
probably should be getting ready for school now.
Good stuff. I stalk her parents' Instagram pages, so both parents, so I know.
She's well.
All right, well, wonderful. Good to have you here with us. And I'll start with you, Dr. Ford St. Hill, to talk a little bit about this new program that you're embarking on to be able to tackle head-on mental health in the workplace.
Thank you. So mental health in the workplace action plan was developed as a spin-off from the National Workplace Wellness Policy, which I'm sure a lot of persons, Barbadians, would see Professor Dwayne Devonish from UE speaking about. It was developed in 2019, so there are 9 aspects to the workplace wellness, and that would be psychological and mental, as well as occupational, environmental, spiritual, cultural, financial. I might not remember all this morning, but you can check it out because it's available online. So the mental and psychological action plan, of course, would fall squarely on the psychiatric hospital where we both work, right? So we are launching today because it is Mental Health Month, and we are celebrating all month long at the psychiatric hospital.
All right, that's wonderful. For you, Ryan, talk to me about that, about being a part of this plan to be able to introduce discussion and other activities more on mental health in the workplace. For a long time, it's been taboo. These days, people are far more open to discussing it and working to better situations.
Yes.
You're definitely correct. The employee is a valuable asset for any organization. And this campaign speaks to the well-being of the employee. And if you really want to get real about the success of any business, whether private or public, no matter how small a corporation you are, you have to treat the employees and value their mental health as a priority. So if you really want to see success in terms of productivity and purpose beyond productivity, you have to value the employee and really bolster that relationship, because you have to treat your internal customers first, so that then that translates to the external customer in terms of the service and the product that you're servicing in whatever operational environment that you're in.
No, Dr. Ford St. Hill, you touched on something that's very important that I think ties in with a real nugget of wisdom that Ryan just dropped. Purpose beyond productivity.
Yes.
How important are things like that to the overall mental health of your employees?
Yes. So I'm glad that you brought that out, Tisha, because that is one of the things that we're trying to achieve in the National Workplace Wellness Committee, because wellness is not just about you not being ill. And that's one thing that I want to stress to everybody. It's not just mental wellness is not just about you not having a mental illness, because at some point in our lives, we will all experience a mental health issue, whether that is the passing of a loved one and you're experiencing grief or stress or burnout. And in terms of the occupational wellness, your employee has to feel valued. You have to create opportunities for your employee to better themselves, for them to feel like they are a part of the organization. They are important. Everybody, from the person who opens the store to the CEO to the accountant, has a purpose, and the workplace does not function without them, right? And it's a bidirectional relationship, because you can have the best employee And if they're not in the right environment, or you create a chaotic environment for them that's not nurturing, it can result in burnout and stress. Or you can have an employee who has mental health issues or mental health condition or anything going on, whether it's at home or in the workplace, and then of course productivity is affected. So we have to make sure that it goes both ways.
I love that. Purpose beyond productivity. That definitely will stay with me. Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
You're welcome.
All right, so there are a number of activities also coming up, and the number one thing I said to you is, are you going into a whole host of workplaces, which is of course important to be able to really gauge what's happening on a one-on-one level.
Yes.
So let's talk a bit about the activities that will be happening throughout the month for the mental health in the workplace campaign, first of all.
So on Sunday, October 6th, we begin our week officially. And we're going to kick things off with a church service at the Nazarene Church in Colmarock at 9 a.m.
My church.
Yeah.
Well, not Church of the Nazarene, Colmarock, but Church of the Nazarene, full stop.
Okay. And then on Thursday, October 10th, we'll be having a seminar at the QEH Auditorium. I'm going to speak about mental health in the workplace. We have some very powerful speakers, including myself and Dr. Ronald
If I
Chase.
might say so myself, I'll be one of the powerful
you have to pat
speakers
yourself on the back.
addressing.
And some life stories of persons that would have experienced mental health challenges while being an active employee as well. So that's going to be serve as a mind opener, and I encourage persons to log on. If you can visit face to face, you can come, but you have to register. And those details can be posted on our social media platform at Psyche Hospital, PSYCHI Hospital. And October 11th, we commence our AWOL lines, which is usually a staff line on the hospital grounds. We actually have a pavilion and a cricket field, so staff has a outlet just to decentralize and open their minds and just socialize and build up that camaraderie as well.
Yeah, we're starting internally.
Yes, starting internally and working our way out. On October 18th, we'll be having a mental health fair. That also will be on the hospital grounds, and that is a public event. So we do invite persons to come, take an opportunity. It's also an anti-stigma effort as well. Venture into the hospital grounds, see what goes on, see what services are available. And you know, we are a valuable resource in society, so just come and engage us as well. On October 20th, we have our mental health walk, fun walk and run, and city concert. So we're going to take to the streets and bolster our voices in support of mental health awareness. We're going to commence at the Carlton and A1 car park in Black Rock and make our way all the way down to Golden Square in the city of Bridgetown, where we will have a concert with many popular artists as well. On October 26th, we have the Patients Concert, and on October 30th, we have the Patients and Staff Sports Day. And there's a lot of other little activities that we'll be having in between those days, but those are the major ones.
All right, that's good stuff. There's lots happening, and I like that you're continuing throughout the month with the lines as well, and the activities to go along with that. Really being the change that you want to see, setting the example and setting the tone. Let's talk a little bit more about the fun walk and run, and city concert is being called. So it comes off on October 20th. From 4 o'clock. It's going off to Golden Square, Freedom Park, and the theme is it's time to prioritize mental health in the workplace in the context of productivity and all that we spoke about. Do you think that enough businesses in Barbados are prioritizing the mental health and wellness of their employees?
What I would say to answer that is that it is becoming more prioritized than it was before, because when I first started working, I wasn't asked to speak at many workplaces, but we're getting more requests and more employers are implementing, or at least letting their workers know about their employee assistance programs, which actually helps to provide mental health services for their employees. And so I think we're getting there. We're not quite there yet, but this campaign actually, this action plan is actually a long-term one. So while we're starting with Mental Health Month and the activities for this month, this is a long-term plan. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of us.
Absolutely. I hope to see a lot more of you. That sounded like a good promise.
Yes, it was.
You know, there also will be a concert. You, me, we are the heart of the party. Yeah?
Yeah, and those are the wise words of very popular artist Mikey and Blood, who I am very close to. So anybody knows me personally, knows the musician side of myself. So I get all of my entertainment friends to give up their service and to assist me with bolstering the voice of mental health awareness. This has been about around 7 years we've been going strong, and each year we are seeing the organic growth of persons participating and taking interest to these activities. And this year is going to be no different. We're going to make things a little better. And we do hope to see you there too as well, Tisha.
Absolutely. You don't have to tell me twice, Basie. Of course, for those people who know Ryan, he plays bass. You look back on any major concert here in Barbados, and you absolutely will see Mr. Ryan Lewis this morning, of course, wearing the hat as nursing officer and carrying the banner for this mental health in the workplace initiative and the month of activities to go along with Mental Health Month. And joined this morning, ably so, by Dr. K.O. Ford St. Hill, sharing with us more about what she will be doing as program lead for that initiative. So if you need to connect and you need her to come into your workplace, she is available. I'm not taking bookings, but you know, you can reach out to them and make sure that if you have challenges, even if you don't see them or you don't, you definitely should play a role and be a part of it. Thank you both for your time.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Good stuff. Just about 7 minutes to go before 7 o'clock. Stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
My friend, you don't plan to get it. Oh, Barbados. Hey, I'm KB Clean. Join me 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. right here at 94.7, the best and ultimate Bajan experience. My show is called Bajan to the Bone. Don't miss it, Bajan to the Bone. Weekdays right here and only here on 94.7.
The facts say Morning Barbados reaches an audience of over 50,000 and Newsnight reaches over 56,000. It's simple. When you advertise, you're getting your message to over 50,000 of your potential customers. Make the call to CBC Sales Department today and watch your business grow. Contact us at 467-5559 or email marketing@cbc.bb.
We enjoy a game of dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love crew.
When you love me just a little bit longer.
You get to relax and have a drink and listen to some nice music.
It's something different. It's spectacular. It's fabulous. You know, it's a different feeling altogether.
Follow me to Q in the Community this Thursday.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News.
Welcome back to Morning Barbados. Dr. Gillian Birchwood is back with us, and of course she's a friend to the show. If you don't know Dr. Birchwood by now, you're probably tuning in for the very first time. So welcome back. Dr. Gillian Birchwood is of course a consultant pediatrician and neonatologist at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. Thank you so much for committing your time, overtime, to come in and share with us.
Thank you so much. I really enjoy coming in and sharing, and really our aim is to make things better for children in Barbados.
Absolutely. So today we're tackling a topic that's difficult to deal with for more reasons than one, violence in schools. And once we start talking about violence in schools, automatically we're talking about little ones, children.
Yes.
Yes. So when we talk about violence in schools, and I reflect on my childhood, maybe your childhood, for example, there were always fights.
Yes.
You know, there were always children who, there wasn't maybe the term bullying present or prevalent as much as it is these days, but children always had battles.
Absolutely.
How is it different now, and how can we define violence in schools based on what is occurring in our schools at this time?
You know, unfortunately, schools are a microcosm of society. So with the increasing violence that we are seeing out in our society, it is now being reflected in our schools. And when we are talking about violence in schools, we are referring to behavior that happens when a child is on their way to school, when they're actually on the school compound, when they're going home, or if they're attending school events that perhaps might not even be at the school. And so the violence that we are seeing now is quite different, as you rightly said, from when we were growing up. Children would often push and shove each other, engage in that sort of behavior. But when you have weapons coming to school, children attacking one another, even children losing their lives, then this is a different level altogether. And so this is why we should all be concerned as a society about what we are seeing in our schools in these last few weeks and years.
And amplifying that is the fact that even if the children aren't seeing each other physically, now there's the online presence.
Absolutely.
Where a bully can still reach you,
yes,
where you are in the comfort of your home.
Correct.
You know, how has that changed the way we have to engage with our children and kind of monitor situations to try to avert the escalation of this violence?
Yes, you know, cyberbullying is a very serious problem. And I think that because we really did not grow up, by and large, with that online experience, we are on the back foot when it comes to understanding what's happening in the virtual world. And so what you'll find is that children who are experiencing cyberbullying, they are often very isolated. It's not something that will be obvious to a parent. You know, if a child is physically bullied, you might see them come home with their clothes pulled up, or there might be bruises and scratches. But cyberbullying is very silent. The perpetrators can remain anonymous. The effects can be widespread throughout the school population, and the impact can be tremendous on the child who's experiencing this cyberbullying. And so that is a type of violence, and we don't think of it as violence, but it is a form of violence, just in the same way that physical bullying is actually a type of school violence. But I think many parents are simply not aware of what their children may be going through. And you really need to pay attention to the social media that your children might be engaged in, because that's the world they live in, very different from the phone calls and the face-to-face interactions that characterized the way that we grew up.
What's deemed as sexual bullying in schools?
So sexual violence and sexual bullying can take the form of harassment, you know, so that people are harassing a student and in a sexual way. It can also take the form of assault and even the form of rape, which I would think is less common than the assault and the harassment.
All right, so these definitely are things you should look at, and we had it up before, but just so you know, the types of school violence, physical, psychological, sexual, bullying, of course, and cyberbullying, these are the things you definitely need to pay attention to. How do you deal with them individually, or can they be dealt with collectively?
So they should be dealt with in both ways. First of all, the individual who is at risk for violence needs to be identified. And this is very important because we need not wait until they actually have reached the point of becoming violent. There are telltale signs, there are telltale red flags for children who would be at risk. They are often those who are socially isolated. They are usually having poor academic performance. They may come from a background of poverty, although that alone is not a risk factor, because you may come from a poor background but have a very good home environment. Children who are at risk are also those who may have been bullied themselves, who would have been exposed to violence either in the home or in the community. Definitely you'd be very concerned about that. There may have been a history of domestic violence in the home, a really very difficult home background. Some children may have mental health challenges, or they may have impulsive or hyperactive behavior that predisposes them to antisocial behaviors.
So all of these risk factors, I mean, for a parent who is listening to you for these risk factors, and again, we're going to share them with you on screen, so we reinforce for these risk factors. If you're looking at them and you're going down the line and thinking, my child is ticking the vast majority or all of these factors, what should be your next step?
Your next step should really be to pay closer attention. As your child grows, you perhaps are less involved in the day-to-day of what's happening with your child. When your child is very young, you go with them to the bathroom, you feed them, you dress them, you bathe them. As they get older, they will come home and be much more independent. But you need to make yourself directly engaged. Pay attention to what your child is saying. Are they talking about violence? Are they playing with weapons? Are they fascinated with knives and guns? Are they writing about violence? Are they drawing images of violence? You need to pay attention to what's coming home. Are you seeing them harming those who are more vulnerable or harming animals, for example? That can definitely be a big red flag. Have you noticed them engaging in threatening or bullying behavior of their siblings, of their peers, of their playmates in the community? Have you noticed any of these things? In addition to that, are they really fixated with violent movies, violent video games, and violent games with each other? So these definitely can be red flags. And speaking and acting aggressively. They may not do it in the home environment because you may have them under a certain code of behavior. But are you noticing that behavior when they're with their friends and amongst their peers? Those are big red flags that as parents we need to pay attention to and not bury our head in the sand about what's going on.
For parents who are at that place and who recognize these things going down the line, I know there may be services that are available for parents to be able to take the next steps. But, where do you go? Who do you turn to? Is it a psychologist, counselors? What can you do to try to stem this behavior?
The truth is that in addition to parents, really this is a whole of society approach. In addition to parents, teachers definitely are in a position to identify children who are at risk. And they can often pinpoint and tell you, I knew that this was likely to be the case with this child because I could see the behavior from primary school. I could see it developing in secondary school. I know the home environment that they have come from. And so it's clear that they would have been at risk. The truth is that we do not have enough resources presently in our schools in Barbados to deal with identifying at-risk children, and then when we have identified at-risk children, to really monitor them and provide the mental health services that they do require. So school guidance counselors, if you have a ratio of 1 to an entire school of 600 or 700 children, it's going to be very challenging for them to identify and track these children. For children who have been identified, having mental health professionals engage with them. Again, there really is not enough in terms of mental health services available in the school environment. Social workers, sometimes there may be one social worker attached to several schools. So although the resources are technically in place, in terms of having adequate resources, not just to identify children, but to put them on a pathway that can avert the outcome that we can all see coming, we simply don't have enough resources. And with increasing violence in society and diminishing approach, the village approach to children, I think that we really need to pay attention to having more resources available in the schools. We can't fix all the failings in society, but it's important to have those resources available.
I know there's been much discussion, not only here in Barbados, across the globe, about nature versus nurture. There are many studies, there are many schools of thought. From your perspective, what are your thoughts on what's influencing much of this? I know we talked about risk factors, but people will want to know, what's my part in this, if there is, and what can I do?
Right. So yes, in certain cases, there may have been a reason why a child may have abnormal behavior, which can be inherited, for example. But those are rare. The reality is that violence is something which you learn as you grow, in the same way that love and compassion is something that you learn as you grow. And we really need to remember that village approach. Back in the day when grannies and aunties and cousins were around to knock you back on the right path, I think that that is lacking now. And we have to remember that in a society such as ours, that we each bear responsibility for the other. And so people tend to shy away from pointing out to parents problem behaviors because sometimes parents themselves are violent and are not willing to hear the truth about what's going on with their children. But each of us bears a responsibility and needs to play a part, point out if we identify children, but we need to have pathways available to address problems that are identified.
All right, this is a great conversation starter. Definitely lots to think about. Is my child violent at school? If we can just share those pointers with you again, just go through them, and we have to come to the realization sometimes that these things can hold true. Talking about or playing with weapons of any kind, harming pets or other animals, threatening or bullying others, talking about violence, violent movies, violent games, speaking or acting aggressively, you definitely should make a move. There are lots of ways. There are lots of organizations out there. Supreme Counseling for Personal Development comes to mind immediately. Reach out and do something before it's too late. Thank you as always, Dr. Birchwood. Always insightful, always leaving us with much to ponder on and some action steps. So that's what's next. It's just about 8 minutes after 7 o'clock. We have much more coming up. We're talking football. That's right. That's all next. Stay with us.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb. And together we will travel the world.
From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tenant.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
You ladies as well. Welcome back to Morning Barbados on this Tuesday. It's already October the 1st. People, Christmas is not around the corner. It's right now. I don't know, it's the end of the year. Before we were just saying, it's a new year. No, here we are in October. So for me, I like firm beginnings. A new month. It's a new start. If you have something to do, get on it. Now is as good a time as any to make sure that you get on anything you want to do. Now, it's wonderful to have with us Nzinga Onifa, who is External Coordinator for the National Cultural Foundation for something called a packing show. I have to be very careful with my pronunciation this morning because I don't want to get in any trouble. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. Nice to see you.
Same here. Always good to have you in studio. And Reese Chatterton Charles is joining us as well. So good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Tisha.
All right. So a packing show. The NCF is inviting members of the public to come out to the Queen's Park Gallery, of course, to be a part and to view a packing show. We talked about it a little while ago with Onika. in terms of, you know, what the basics of the show were, and then of course where the show will be heading. So let's talk a little bit about the installment as it is now at the gallery and what will be happening post the show packing up literally and heading off to the continent.
Okay, first of all, the purpose of the show is we're going to the Dakar Biennale, and this is going to be held in Senegal from November 7th to December 7th. We're taking 10 artists to the show, but 11 artists will participate. And the Dakar Biennale is held every 2 years, and it attracts about 260,000 people and about 85 countries. So we think that it's very important that artists, seeing that we are having the relations with Africa and we want to establish ties with Africa, we thought that I put the idea to the National Cultural Foundation that we should participate, artists should participate in the Biennale. So here we are.
Here we are.
So this is the packing show that you're seeing at Queen's Park. Is the exhibition. The artists are exhibiting their work for the Dakar Biennale.
And you're one of the artists exhibiting your work, Rise. You know, how did you hear about it? How did you come to be a part of this particular show?
Well, earlier in the year, I was invited by the NCF to participate, to show my work as part of this phenomenal opportunity to exhibit in Dakar at the Biennale. And the work that I had been doing over the years definitely spoke to the theme of the wake that is part of the Biennale, that is the theme of the Biennale this year. And so we were looking at the history that is overlaid over Caribbean people, the history of enslavement, the transatlantic slave trade, and what is left in the wake of colonialism. So that theme kind of permeates my work and often my thoughts, to be honest. And I was invited, given that that was where my work was headed, that this was actually part of the theme.
Talk to us a little bit more about your work and how you think it ties in specifically with these general themes that you mentioned.
Well, the way that I'm working now, I'm working in a manner of digital collage and photography and melding those two. And one of the things that I've always wanted to do is actually talk about Caribbean folklore. That has been a huge theme in my life, and Mer people and Caribbean people under the sea, and how did we get there? So while looking at that, I was able to take my photography and meld it with drawing and create some pieces where you have some fantastical underwater characters that kind of represent who we are under the sea and represent how we got under the sea. For me, as a Caribbean woman, I have always grown up, like in my household, we always talked about Caribbean folklore. I knew about La Jablesse, I knew about Mama Glo, I knew about Anansi, and how are those stories connected between the western coast of Africa and the Caribbean? They are stories of how on the slave ships, often we were tossed into the waters when we became inconvenient, whether we were ill, whether we had died, under the horrific conditions. And I started to think, well, what if those people are the ancestors? What if those people are how we got in the water? And what are those stories to tell? And in December of 2023, actually I had a fortuitous encounter, I shall say, with Van Lee Burke, who is a British Jamaican photographer. And he had actually come to see my last exhibition, Looka, at the Barbados Museum. And while he was here working on a project with Ryder Shafiq and Voices Gloucester, they had actually brought a document, which was the oldest recording of a song of enslaved people, which was actually recorded in Barbados, and it's an archival document, and it's held at the Gloucester Archives. And I got to see this document, and see the song on this document, and this song had resonated with me. And in one of my pieces, I actually incorporated the lyrics of that song, which is overlaid. So the overlaying of archival documentation into the work is also something that I really felt strongly about. So there's now that connection between that archival document and the stories that I'm trying to tell.
It's so ironic because just this morning I was kind of scrolling online, and a page came up about La Jablesse, about someone sharing much about Caribbean folklore, and that's something that really piques my interest as well, when we talk about these characters, how we've kind of moved through time, and then you're not particularly sure if they're just characters or if these are people and instances and characters that actually existed. And over time it comes like a story like here in Barbados, where there are stories of the gentleman from St. James who did all these interesting things, and over time, you know, people say, yes, Ossie was the person, but you're not sure where fact ends and where fiction begins. So it truly is intriguing. And I know that you had an existing relationship in terms of your involvement with these exhibits before. So to be able to kind of bring Barbados to the world and what we're offering by way of you know, what Riche has, or many of the other artists who are exhibiting, you know, what do you think this will do for Caribbean art, Caribbean stories, and making that connection that you talked about?
Well, it's very important. The connection between Africa and the Caribbean, actually, as you know, we are the people that left Africa. And here it is, from my experience in living in Africa, I find that they have these slave ports. And no one talks about whatever happened to the people that left Africa. And I am saying, you know, and I've always said, you need to ask. You need, even although you promote, you know, the slave ports or what happened, you never ask, what happened to the people? What they're doing? How are they living? And here we are in the Caribbean, making a reconnection to Africa, which is so important. So this exhibition, you know, one of the things, before I go into the exhibition, there are millions of people that died on plantations. There are millions of people that died in the ocean. And a lot of them have never returned. Even this, we living in the Caribbean, very few of us have returned, even paid a visit. So this is something very significant for our artists, Barbadian artists, and eventually in the other biennales, I'd like to take some Caribbean artists to participate with African artists to see what is happening. The African artists are the artists that never really left Africa. So here we are, the Caribbean and African artists getting together to see what it is that they can offer each other. I had a friend, when I was young, I used to dance at dance theater, and there was a friend in the from Jamaica. She was in the national dance troupe at Jamaica, a very good dancer, and she would come to Barbados and dance with me for the summer, but I was the weaker dancer. And she always said to me, Nzinga, you never go behind a weak dancer, always go behind a strong dancer, so that you can learn and you can reach a different level. And this is what I want, the opportunity for Barbadians to participate in this biennale, because they're going to be gallerialists, they're going to be curators, they're going to be art critics, art managers from around the world, within Africa and the diaspora. And it's a chance for Barbadians to say, hey, I'm going to step up to another plate. We're being exposed with all of these different artists within the diaspora and within the global region, and it would be great for us to see our work there, and the opportunities that are going to be there is going to be phenomenal.
Talk to us about those opportunities that you're hoping for. We say you talked about some chance meetings here that have helped to influence your work or impact your work in some way and shape what you are putting out. What are your hopes for this particular exhibition under the title The Wake?
Well, actually, if I may, before I speak to that, I actually just want to touch on a point that Nzinga mentioned. That is that many Caribbean people have not had a chance to go to any part of the continent of Africa, and the reasons for that. And part of the reasons for that is actually linked to the transatlantic slave trade and the fact that the wealth that these islands produced didn't actually stay here. It was extracted and taken to empire. So the people who live here often do not have the means because that was stolen from us, historically stolen from us. So, you know, as much as I want us to be able to go to places, because we need to be able to go and see things so that we can actually be inspired in the way that people who live in larger places are inspired, because that's where the wealth sits. I also want us to understand that part of the reason for that is because that wealth was extracted from us. As for me, my hopes in going to Senegal, a trip for which I'm extremely grateful, is to really see what is happening there, what is happening within the art scene, the African art scene, and how people respond to these particular...
Okay, let's take a break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are 94.7 FM, the ultimate Bajan experience.
My friend, you don't plan to get it? Oh, Barbados. Hey, I'm KB Clean. Join me 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. right here at 94.7, the best and ultimate Bajan experience. My show is called Bajan to the Bone. Don't miss it, Bajan to the Bone. Weekdays right here and only here on 94.7.
The facts say Morning Barbados reaches an audience of over 50,000 and Newsnight reaches over 56,000. It's simple. When you advertise, you're getting your message to over 50,000 of your potential customers. Make the call to CBC Sales Department today and watch your business grow. Contact us at 467-5559 or email marketing@cbc.bb.
We enjoy a game of dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love cruise.
When you love me just a little bit longer.
You get to relax and have a drink and listen to some nice music.
It's something different. It's spectacular. It's fabulous. You know, it's a different feeling altogether.
Follow me to Q in the Community this Thursday.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb, and together we will travel the world.
From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are 94.7 FM, the ultimate Bajan experience.
My friend, you don't plan to get it? Oh, Barbados. Hey, I'm KB Clean. Join me 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. right here at 94.7, the best and ultimate Bajan experience. My show is called Bajan to the Bone. Don't miss it, Bajan to the Bone. Weekdays right here and only here on 94.7.
The facts say Morning Barbados reaches an audience of over 50,000 and Newsnight reaches over 56,000. It's simple. When you advertise, you're getting your message to over 50,000 of your potential customers. Make the call to CBC Sales Department today and watch your business grow. Contact us at 467-5559 or email marketing@cbc.bb.
We enjoy a game with dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love cruise.
When you love me just a little bit longer.
You get to relax and have a drink and listen to some nice music.
It's something different. It's spectacular. It's fabulous. You know, it's a different feeling altogether.
I never feel so good in a party yet.
Follow me to Q in the Community this Thursday.
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb. And together we will travel the world.
From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are 94.7 FM, the ultimate Bajan experience.
My friend, you don't plan to get it? Oh, Barbados. Hey, I'm KB Clean. Join me 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. right here at 94.7, the best and ultimate Bajan experience. My show is called Bajan to the Bone. Don't miss it, Bajan to the Bone. Weekdays right here and only here on 94.7.
The facts say Morning Barbados reaches an audience of over 50,000 and Newsnight reaches over 56,000. It's simple. When you advertise, you're getting your message to over 50,000 of your potential customers. Make the call to CBC Sales Department today and watch your business grow. Contact us at 467-5559 or email marketing@cbc.bb.
We enjoy a game of dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love cruise.
When you love me just a little bit longer.
You get to relax and have a drink and listen to some nice music.
Good morning to you.
All right, so welcome back again. I started yesterday by telling you that I've been having some challenges. So, thanks so much for bearing with me. Of course, we've been getting all of your remedies that you've been sending. I have about 15 emails from yesterday, and the voice is a little different. So sorry for interrupting you, ladies. Nzinga is still here. Reese Chatterton. Charles is still with us as well. And the packing show closed up yesterday that we were talking about before the interruption. And now the next step is for you to head off to, showcase Barbadian artists to the continent. So you were in the middle of kind of expressing all that you would want to accomplish heading off in this show.
Yes, I was saying that I really wanted to experience what is happening within African art spaces, within Senegalese art spaces, and more broadly, because the Biennale showcases African art in a general sort of sense, rather than just simply Senegalese artists. And I really wanted to be able to see what was happening within those spaces and to have that conversation, because art is always a conversation. I always say to younger people that art, you don't have to like it. You don't have to hate it, you don't have to love it, but art is a conversation starter. So I want to be able to have those conversations and see what conversations can be had within those spaces around my work, around the work of the other artists, and around what it means to be a Caribbean person of African descent working in these spaces.
Excellent. So now you're heading off to the wait is November 7th to the December 7th as a part of the curatorial team. What are your expectations?
Well, I am looking forward to the artists being there and having some wonderful experiences. The head curator, Zulu Mbai, he is the person that is going to welcome the Barbadian artists. Actually, he's the person that would host the exhibition in Senegal. And I am hoping that this changes a lot of the artists' work. I'm expecting that when they go, as I said before, they have many opportunities, and that when they come back, there's a Chinese proverb that says, when a person travels, they never come back the same. And I'm hoping that the work of the artists goes to another level from their experiences.
All right, well, thank you both for coming in and sharing with us. Be sure to share your experiences so we can share with the audience here on Morning Barbados and Barbadians generally. I think sometimes we go off on these shows and we don't necessarily get a taste of the sights and sounds and how you experience it. So it would be wonderful to have you back after so that you can share the impact and everything that goes along with being a part of it. Congratulations.
Thank you
very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so also participating, Natalie Atkins-Hines, pardon me, Aishi Butcher, Reese, who's here, Versia Harris, David Guru McLean is going to be a part of the team heading off, Gabriel Moore, Jared Niles Morris, and we met Jared before, Ikem Ramsey, Russell Watson, Ronald Williams. Congratulations to all of you. We certainly look forward to hearing more about the presentation post your visit to the continent. It's time for another break on Morning Barbados, but stay with us. We'll be back with more after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning.
enjoy a game of dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love cruise.
When you love me just a little bit longer.
You get to relax and have a drink and listen to some nice music.
It's something different. It's spectacular. It's fabulous. You know, it's a different feeling altogether.
Follow me to Q in the Community this Thursday.
You know why?
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Affair segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb. And together we will travel the world.
From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are 94.7 FM, the ultimate Bajan experience.
My friend, you don't plan to get it? Oh, Barbados. Hey, I'm KB Clean. Join me 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. right here at 94.7, the best and ultimate Bajan experience. My show is called Bajan to the Bone. Don't miss it, Bajan to the Bone. Weekdays right here and only here on 94.7.
The facts say Morning Barbados reaches an audience of over 50,000 and Newsnight reaches over 56,000. It's simple. When you advertise, you're getting your message to over 50,000 of your potential customers. Make the call to CBC Sales Department today and watch your business grow. Contact us at 467-5559 or email marketing@cbc.bb.
We enjoy a game of dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love cruise.
When you love me just a little bit longer.
You get to relax and have a drink and listen to some nice music.
It's something different. It's spectacular. It's fabulous. You know, it's a different feeling altogether.
Follow me to Q in the Community this Thursday.
You know why?
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Affair segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have a
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
All right, so welcome to Morning Barbados on this first day of October. Lots happening behind the scenes. To welcome a few guys here, Kent Hall.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
saying you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Affair segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb, and together we will travel the world.
From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are 94.7 FM, the ultimate Bajan experience.
My friend, you don't plan to get it? Oh, Barbados. Hey, I'm KB Clean. Join me 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. right here at 94.7, the best and ultimate Bajan experience. My show is called Bajan to the Bone. Don't miss it, Bajan to the Bone. Weekdays right here and only here on 94.7.
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Welcome back on this Tuesday, October 1st. Good to have you joining us for another Morning Barbados presentation, and a special good morning to those of you heading off to school, particularly if you love the game of football. This one is specifically for you. We have to say a very good morning and welcome to Kent Hall, who is now head coach of the Barbados team. Congratulations to you and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful to have you here. And Omani Leacock is a player with the National Tridents team. So good morning to you too.
Good morning to you too. Thanks.
And I've already laid down the ground rules. I told Omani that he has to smile. I know his early mornings can be a little challenging, but it's good to have you guys here talking about the CONCACAF Nations League games coming up. So the BFA announced a 23-member squad for 2 matches against USVI. You're going to be starting around October 9th. Before we get into what the team will be doing when they head off, talk to us about your move into this new position and what it means to you. I know that you have a long list of exceptional accomplishments in this particular area, but to move into this new position, what does this mean for you?
Well, it's a bit of a dream come true for me. It happened at a time I wasn't really expecting it, but I guess that in and of itself, it kind of it's how life goes, you know, and you take opportunities as they come. So I'm grateful for it, and so far so good. You know, it's been an interesting start. The first 2 matches were really tough ones, and then we had 2 matches in the USVI recently, and we won both, which was really good, not just for me but for the team and for the country on the whole, because we'd been going through a period where we hadn't had the best results. So yeah, I'm thrilled at the opportunity, and long may it last.
All right, now Barbados currently sits top of Group A in the League C with 2 wins from 2 matches, as you mentioned, the recent trip to USVI. Let's talk a bit more about the training and how you're going into, the upcoming games.
Right. So we're training 3 days a week. We have, obviously, in this environment, everyone is amateur players, so we have to work around the life style, the life requirements that everybody has, which is regular jobs. So there's also domestic competition that's in progress right now. But we're now at the stage where we're going to ramp that up. We're going to trim the team right down and be training pretty much every day up until our first match on the 9th. So preparations in that regard have been on target and going well. So we're keen to get out on the pitch and play a good match in front of the home fans.
All right, good stuff. Talk to me a little bit about your journey Omani, with football. Where did it begin and where has it taken you?
Well, football for me started in primary school. I think I was about 5 years old. Yes, started playing for Bear Primary School. And from there I took off and played for Notre Dame Sports Club, a local club in my community. Then I went further and played for the Les Avon Secondary School. From there I was granted the opportunity to represent Barbados on the 17 level. Played there, and then I played under 23 for Barbados as well. And I was handed my first senior cap, I think back in 2015. Yes, and from there I think I moved on to college football. Yes, in the USA, Ohio. And from there I had another opportunity to go abroad to Australia. So it's been a nice road, I should say, but a lot of ups and downs with it.
So where does the name The Chemist come from?
The Chemist come from simply being very technical with the ball, you know, the ability to get out of tight situations and producing magic when you least expect it.
All right, good stuff. I was waiting for that one. I was just holding back because I wanted the smile, which was what I talked about. I knew I would get it with the name because you didn't expect me to know that. Huh. Yeah. All right, but the team has now been named, and I know sometimes as head coach coming in, you have your own views on what training should be. You talked about the limitations of having to work with an amateur team who you don't have the privilege of working with all around the clock, obviously because they have those commitments you talked about. So what generally is your game plan based on your experience level, you know, what you've seen of the team that you now are working with, and the outcome that you generally want?
Right. Well, as much as the players are amateur in the sense that it's not their job, the behaviors of the boys are exceptional. They're very professional in how they conduct themselves and how they approach training. So it's always about challenging them, and they are the ones, these boys have exceptional quality. They're the ones who will bring out the best, not just in us as a team, but in me also as a coach. So we just try to create the framework that allows them to tap into the best of what they have to offer. And so going into these matches, it's the same thing. It's kind of a constant evolution of a team where the team is growing. Every training session, every match gives us an opportunity to see where we can be better. And the boys respond tremendously well to that challenge. And so it's really exciting to be able to see it unfold in real time as well. And so that's really the job of us as coaches, to just help them tap into that and grow.
Excellent. How do you think playing outside of the country and being able to relate to other teams and move around the world has influenced the type of football that you play or the way you approach the game? For you, Omani?
Oh, well, in terms of how I approach the game, I think we each bring our own input to the game. And being from the Caribbean, we have a certain style of play. Like we more drawn to the skillful side of the game. But I think it gives us an edge when we play against certain opposition. But we cope very well when we go against the so-called better teams. We just fall short a little when it comes to the tactical side. But in all fairness, our players are more than capable of competing with the big so-called big teams in the Caribbean.
What are your hopes going into this game?
Hopefully for 2 wins. That would be very good for the country as well, because we will be able to get a play against a top dog, a so-called top dog in the region, and be able to go on to the next level.
I would imagine, obviously, that's your That's your hope for the team as well, for them to be able to advance.
Yeah. So our primary objective in this competition was to win the group and get promoted to League B, but there's the additional benefit that comes along with that, which is we will qualify for a playing competition to the CONCACAF Gold Cup, which would be that matchup against one of the League A teams for a chance to get into what is the biggest confederation tournament. And that would be a massive achievement for us. It's something that the country's never done, so we're dreaming big and we're working towards it.
You have a few fresh faces for the senior team on the squad, but you are not necessarily a fresh face as well, but new in this additional position. So how do you think this changes the dynamic coming off of the last 2 games?
Well, since I've taken over, we've seen quite a few different faces, and what's important is that there's lots of talent out there, and we want to make sure that we're giving everybody a chance to showcase what they can do, and trying to make sure we find the best that there is. And that's not just in an individual sense, but we're trying to build the best group of players. And combinations of players is also something that's really critical when it comes to performance. So it's good to also keep things fresh, because it brings a certain excitement. And the game fundamentally is physical. And so the physical demands of the game are always going to be the first element that you've got to outperform your opponent in. And so it's important to be able to have players who can challenge each other to those levels, and also to have the continuity. So it would be no good if you put me on the field at this point now. I can still pass the ball straight, but I'm not able to keep up with them. So bringing through some younger players to challenge Omani, and who can also learn from Omani, is one of the critical things that we try to incorporate into the way we function.
All right, well, good stuff. For you, Omani, and building on what Kent talked about in terms of sharing with some of these new players, do you take this on as a role, or does it happen organically in that as you go about your day, as you guys practice, some of the other players tend to kind of maybe come in your direction or ask for advice? How does that work in terms of welcoming the new faces into the fold?
Well, a couple of the players were drawn close to me to learn from my experiences of playing abroad, and how I deal with the language barriers overseas as well, and climatizing, and just the simple fact of going, like staying in the uncomfortable situation just so you could continue playing, because the more you play, the better you become, and the better you become, the more chance you get of being there to the world. You understand? So when the players come, I don't think it's that I take on a leadership role. They just look at me as an inspiration sometimes.
They gravitate to you?
Yes, I would say that, but sometimes I have some habits that would not be so nice in terms of like I take warming up. To me, I warm up a certain way. Everyone don't perform the same way as like body wise. I take my warm up pretty. I'd be very lenient in terms of that, but other people have to be more serious because of their body type. So sometimes it's not good to watch people. Sometimes it's good to lean on your own understanding.
Listen, you're making Kent laugh. There's a backstory here.
No, it's the thing is that there are no two people that are the same, right? And what's really important though is that players understand what works for Omani may not work for them. And so it's about empowering people to understand themselves and what they need to do. And we try to create an environment where if that's what Omani needs to do to prepare himself and it brings out the best in his performance, then that's cool.
Yeah.
Me, I need to warm up probably for half an hour and I'll be tired afterwards. he might take 5 minutes and he can go and do everything that he would normally do. So yeah, we obviously will try to encourage all the best habits, but we understand that there's an individuality element to it that's really important.
You also talked about the fact that there's a lot of football going on at this time. We know that there's the Prime Minister's Cup and so on, and there are only so many players to go around. How is that impacting what you are able to do? You know, because many would see it as a positive, where we're getting a whole lot more players exposed to playing a whole lot more often than just on a seasonal basis, as we would think, as compared to in other places. You talked about performing on the collegiate circuit and then in other countries, and we know in those spaces, even though there's a cycle or a season, people are exposed to playing on a whole other level than maybe here in Barbados. So what has been the impact of so much play going on at this time?
Well, when domestic competition is going on, it can be difficult to organize training sessions because from time to time, Omani will have a match and 5 other players, and on any given night, that can have a real impact on how you would organize a training session. And that has been problematic on more than one occasion. Fortunately, leading into this match, the way how the fixtures in the Prime Minister's Cup are, we are in a pretty good situation, and we try to make sure we have a good relationship with the clubs as well to make sure that the players are able to meet the commitments of the national program, but also respecting the commitments that they have to the clubs to participate. There are players then also that will be based overseas, and that in and of itself has its own challenge because there's financial implications to even their availability. But if you're on the collegiate circuit, first semester is the football semester, and so if you're a scholarship athlete, your coach wants you just as much over there as I want you here. So we have to find a balance with that. But fortunately, there's so much talent here that with the work that we put in, we can get a big pool of players to be able to be available.
All right, good stuff. So we're looking forward to these big wins, right, Omani, with you up front? That's a for sure?
Should more like a guarantee.
mixing and making magic in the midfield.
As a chemist, perhaps? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, so I wish you the very best. The full squad reads Akil Applewaite, Andre Applewaite, Carl Hinkson, Corey Bridgman, Darian King, Darius Boyce, Hayden Holligan, Junai, Jerron Otterson, Jalen Jilts, Jaira Malcolm, Kevon Lucas, Khalil Yanderpool Nurse, Kimani Cox, Kishmar Primus, Mario Williams, Nadre Butcher, Nathan Walters Harewood, Niall Reed Stevens, Nikolai Brathwaite, Omani Leacock, Ricardo Morris, and Sharon Hoyt. So congratulations to all of you. Wish you the very best. We certainly will be looking on and cheering from right here in Barbados, and for coach as well. So congratulations again. All right, you know, that's it from us for today. The time has gone by quickly. I'm going to work on all this stuff that's going on with me, and hopefully I'll see you again tomorrow. I'm not sure. Definitely we'll have to take it on. I'm going to head out and see what the doctor says. But have a great day today. God willing, I'll be back with you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up.